Ciao, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. In today's video, we are going to be doing 4 Mediterranean diet snack ideas, recipes, just some inspiration to get you in the kitchen and make some really good, high quality, wholesome, delicious, simple recipes. So they're perfect as a snack, but you can also really kind of zhuzh them up, add some fun things to them to kind of make a complete meal. I have 2 savory and 2 sweet. I try to make my recipes as flexible as possible so they can fit your preferences. So let's go ahead and hop into recipe number 1. The first snack idea is going to be Greek fava. 2 years ago, I went to Greece and it's one of my most favorite places that I have ever been to. The food was sensational. And I had fava in Santorini and it was wonderful. And it's so simple and such minimal ingredients. Again, the Mediterranean diet, it may take some time to make some of these dishes because they believe in making such homemade, wonderful dishes, but the ingredients are always such high quality and you want to taste every ingredient, and so there's so few ingredients. Starting off with fava, it is not actual fava beans. Fava is the Greek word for yellow split peas, and I have 1 cup of them rinsed really well. I'm just gonna set that off to the side. And now we're gonna work on building the base of aromatic flavors. So I'm gonna go in with some high quality, I have Greek olive oil today. This is probably my favorite brand of olive oil. Not sponsored at all in this video specifically. So I'm gonna coat the bottom of the pot, say about 3 tablespoons. Now that I put the pot on the stove, I'm gonna turn it on to medium-low heat because 1, we never want to burn olive oil, but also we're gonna do some softening of some shallots and garlic here. I'm gonna do a super duper rough chop of the shallots. Thyme is one of the woodsy herbs, almost lemony kind of, and that's great because we're also featuring a whole lemon in this recipe, bringing out some zestfulness. You can use kind of maybe any woodsy herb. You want an herb that can cook for a long time but still retain so much of that flavor, and woodsy herbs are a stronger type of herb, can really get their flavor out of them even after being cooked a long time. And then the last like really big layer of flavor going in this little tiny container, because I had to pack everything before coming here, vegetable broth concentrate. It's beautiful flavor, concentrated, so you don't have to buy containers of veggie broth. So I have vegetable broth is the moral of the story, is what I'm trying to say, is going to be the liquid to really cook down the yellow split peas. However, if you just want to use water, just use water. The other reason why I want to keep them pretty rough and don't want to spend too much time fussing with prepping the veg for this dish is because it's all going to be blended up. That is what this dish is. It's a dip. It's a nice, beautiful, warm, inviting, citrusy, nutritious dip. Oh, here we go. My eyes are starting to hurt a little bit. I know there's a bunch of tricks. I know there's like, you can keep like a wet cloth by you, like if you do it by a burner, but my eyes. So now we're gonna move on to the garlic, as I literally can't see anything. My eyes are watering so bad. Probably would say 2 giant ones or 3 medium-sized ones. I'm just gonna give them a good smash. So you do your garlic level that you want. I will always go for less garlic than more garlic. And the smashing part actually helps break them a little bit so that they will release some of that flavor and do a good job infusing it into the oil. My nose is running because my eyes watered. Ah, this is not good for the camera. We're gonna put the garlic and the shallots into the pot with a little bit of salt and the thyme. The shallots and the garlic have been sauteing with the thyme, a little bit of salt, and red pepper flakes for about 10 minutes now, and they're just starting to develop color on very low heat. That means they're nice and softened. They're kind of almost looking a little translucent. It's time to do the next step, which is going to be add in the yellow split peas. They're not super duper popular in the States. In fact, they're kind of hard to find. So if you cannot find yellow split peas, you can use yellow lentils. They are totally different, but they can be replaced. There's gonna be a taste difference. If you can't find yellow split peas, you could look on Amazon. I went to my local Mediterranean grocery store and I found them for a really, really good price because those grocery stores tend to have like really good prices. So if you just like Google Mediterranean grocery stores near me, you should find like a Middle Eastern grocery store. I'm gonna start off with 2 cups of water or broth, and now I'm going to add in the vegetable base. So I'm just gonna put a lid on it and let it simmer for, like I said, 30 to 45 minutes, really low heat. You definitely want to make sure that there is some residual water. So if you're noticing too much of the water cooking off and the split peas aren't all the way cooked through yet, which you'll know, you can taste them and they'll be nice and smooth and creamy, you can add in another 1/4 cup or 1/2 cup of water. It is time to pull the beautiful mash yellow split peas from the stove. They finish cooking and they become so soft. They already start mashing like crazy. Depending on your preferences and your textures and what you like, you could mash this up with the back of a wooden spoon, add that lemon juice and lemon zest in here, and you could have a really thick, delicious dip that's very textured. The beautiful thing about thyme part 2, because it's a woodsy herb, all the leaves fall off the stem. Go in and find all the stems of the thyme. To the blender, to the food processor, if you're blending this, or just straight in to mash it into. I'm gonna use a whole lemon, zest and juice. I want the really, really lemony flavor. I think it just is gonna pair well with everything that's gone in here, and for something that's been cooked for a long period of time, something that was dried, like those split peas were dried, bring this back to life. The lemon juice is also gonna add a little bit of liquid that we're gonna need to probably blend this. I might be adding in a little bit more water as well, just to help get this super smooth and creamy, but it's supposed to be a pretty thick spread. This dip is best enjoyed warm. Super easy dip, super inviting, goes with just about everything. I'm pairing it today with some cucumbers, because I honestly forgot something to dip with it. There's so many ways to use this dip as well. By now, if you've watched at least like 2 or 3 of my recipe videos, you had to have seen this coming. You could also use it as a sauce. Thin it out with vegetable broth, a ton of water, and it's a sauce, a pasta sauce, a sauce to put over your chicken or your grilled meats, your baked meats, a sauce to put over rice, couscous, bread on top of bread for sandwiches, about 2 more tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I don't have different types of olive oil. I just use always super duper high quality olive oil. I don't have one for cooking, one for finishing, one for, no, just high quality stuff. I'm just going to be adding spoonful by spoonful of the beautiful split pea mashed cooked goodness to the blender. Again, you want to be doing it while it's still pretty warm, because this is a delicious, luscious, warm dip. So good. So I have all the ingredients ready to go to be blended up. Like I said, it's probably gonna need like a splash or 2 of water. If it's biting, if it's not blending, go ahead and add that. The consistency is of your desires. It is the moment of truth, which I've already tasted it. It's incredible. It's lemony and thick, olive oily. You can taste the thyme, the onions, and the garlic ever so slightly. Slightly warm because we just blended it. So now it's time to plate it. Creamy, full of protein and fiber. Yellow split peas are such a good nutrient dense ingredient. And if you are subbing the yellow split peas for yellow lentils, those are also incredibly high in protein and fiber. Let's talk about longevity. The blue zones, absolutely so popular right now. Blue zones is so similar to the Mediterranean lifestyle and diet, but they talk so much about like a superfood that the blue zones eat is legumes, nutrient dense food, and this dish is it. This is delicious. This fava is the dip that you need to be making for the rest of winter. It's delicious year round, but a warm dip, cozy, yet so fresh. I topped mine off with a little bit more lemon zest, some sumac and za'atar. Sumac is like a lemony berry spice that you guys by now, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, know that I absolutely love. And then za'atar is a spice blend, but it has some thyme in it some of the times. If not, it tastes very similar to thyme. So it's almost like a dried, enhanced version of thyme, and because we had that thyme in the actual fava, this fava is fabulous. 1 more spoonful, and then we are gonna move on to recipe number 2. So good. For the second recipe, I am going to be doing an updated recipe. I've been doing this a lot lately, and I plan to do it for the rest of the year. I wanted to take any recipes that I made in 2020, 2021. Most of them need a refresh, an update, remake it again, make sure it's kind of perfect. So I made these baklava Rice Krispie treats, baklava inspired. They are not baklava. I do not want to disgrace one of the best desserts of all time, but I love the flavors of baklava so much. I take that inspiration to make other things. I made a baklava granola last year. One of my favorite recipes of all time, crunchy, crispy, nutty, citrusy, spicy. And I want to remake the baklava Rice Krispie treats because when I made them, people loved them on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. People really, really love that recipe. So I wanted to make sure that I really loved that recipe. It's basically kind of a mix between like a granola bar and a Rice Krispie treat. It's like sweet, but not over the top sweet. Lots of Rice Krispies because I love that the Rice Krispies really give that flaky, airy crunch that you get so much from that phyllo dough. And so for a more buttery, nutty flavor, the base is going to be tahini. I'm gonna add into the bowl. Tahini is one of my favorite ingredients of all time. I use it all the time. It's a pantry staple. Another like really neutral tasting nut butter you could use if you didn't want to use tahini would be cashew butter. And I'm going to sweeten it up just a little bit and also will help make these bars stick. So I have the honey and the tahini in there. I'm gonna do a splash of vanilla extract. I always use real deal, real vanilla. It is the good stuff. I never use imitation anything. And we're gonna give it a little stir. So now we're gonna build some more flavor. I'm gonna do just a dash of cinnamon, cardamom, totally optional. The cardamom is pretty strong. And then seen a lot in baklava is cloves. So I'm also gonna do just a dash of clove. And then I'm gonna do a pinch of salt just to bring out all the flavors. So now I'm gonna stir all the spices in. In the honey syrup mixture that is poured on top of the gorgeous baked baklava is a little bit of lemon juice. So if you wanted to add a little bit of lemon zest or lemon juice or orange zest or orange juice, you could add orange blossom water, almond flour. It's a super absorbent flour, so it's gonna help absorb the liquid or the wet ingredients. It'll help make the bars a little bit more firm. Nuts are huge into baklava. That's like the most important part, and to give it good texture. And lastly, I'm gonna do the rice crisps and to give everything a really big stir. I mean, these couldn't be easier. It's like 10 ingredients or less, and you just basically stir everything together. You could just eat them straight from the bowl. So good. You wanna keep stirring until you've reached like this really thick ball. It all balls up like this. You know you've reached the perfect consistency. I recommend definitely storing these in the fridge. The mixture has come together perfectly, but it's quite soft, quite delicious. The cardamom adds such a good note. And I'm just going to kind of evenly place it in this parchment lined loaf pan. You could do probably a 9x9 and they would be like thin, like normal granola bars, but I kind of wanted that like thick baklava-esque height to these. So I have the mixture just lightly in the pan right now. I'm gonna take the parchment and kind of place it over like this. Use an extra sheet of parchment and use this cup, kind of press down and really pack it in so they hold together better. I'm just going to pop this in the fridge or the freezer for an hour and then we'll cut them. I have the beautiful tahini bars. I'm just gonna flip it upside down and right off onto the pan. To make this more reminiscent of baklava, I'm gonna cut these at a diagonal. You can hear the crispy, crunchy rice crisps. They're so pretty. You can just see all the toasted pistachios and walnuts running through the center. Soft, yet crispy. You get the honey, all those spices. These dipped in chocolate, so rich. The rice crisps give it a beautiful texture. And then you get all the flavor from the nuts and the spices and the tahini. It's not too sweet. These are decadent, yet full of nutritious, healthy fats. Absolutely, utterly delicious. You have to try these nutty tahini bars. They're gonna be your new favorite. Delicious snack. You could easily add some protein powder into these. They would honestly be even a little bit more firm. So I'm gonna enjoy this last bite and we're gonna move on to the next recipe. So good. I love all of the recipes in this recipe video so much, but this is going to be, I just know, the best one. So the third recipe is going to be a seared fried halloumi with a citrusy agrodolce. I made scalloped agrodolce last year in the winter, and I wanted to recreate that and add some variations because, like I always say, my recipes are so flexible, variations, possibilities are endless. First, we're gonna work on the agrodolce. Agrodolce comes from Sicily, comes from Italy. Agro, sour, dolce, sweet. Vinegars are a Mediterranean diet staple. I love balsamic, white balsamic. I love red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar. One of my favorite salad dressings at my favorite restaurant uses champagne vinegar. This is a crushed tangerine vinegar. They have a whole line of crushed fruit vinegars. Citrus is in season in the winter, so I thought a wintry fun dish would be this agrodolce. Olives, traditional in agrodolce, crunchy, nutty, toasted, salty deliciousness. Pistachios. We have a Caracara orange. Caracara oranges are sweeter than navel oranges, more robust in flavor in my opinion. And for more sweetness, some dried fruit. I have some cut up apricots here. Apricots, they're super meaty, dried fruit texture, no added sugar. There is sulfur to retain that golden color. To start off, we're going to be doing the 1/3 cup of apricots going in. Oh gosh, spilling everywhere. Half a cup of pistachios going in for beautiful color and texture. Next, I'm gonna drain off the olives and add those in. Just take off the entire zest. Smells so good. The smell of oranges remind me of Christmas because being Italian, we use clementine peels for tombola, which is a game we play at Christmas. So whenever I smell like a peeled orange or orange zest, reminds me of wonderful memories. So I'm gonna give the vinegar a good shake. Because vinegar has that great must in there, it can kind of sometimes settle at the bottom. I'm gonna open it up. Just a moment for the packaging on this side. It is so cute. I have my cute little honey bear. So honey is in, and then last but not least, I'm gonna do half of the orange because I really just want to snack on the other half, but you could do the whole if you wanted to. Like I said, Caracara oranges are a little bit different, so notice that the color is a little bit darker. Almost dropped that in there and almost splashed up at me. Thank you God for that not happening today, especially with the white pans. Okay, in we go. So now I have liquid and I'm going to pour it into the jar with all the fun stuff. Hopefully it fits just barely. Take the lid and we're gonna shake this bad boy up until everything's really well combined. Moving on to the second part, now that we have the gorgeous agrodolce done, ready to go. The first 2 or 3 days, it's actually developing and soaking up so much flavor. So that's why I love making this big jar, because instant like salad enhancer with the olives and the nuts and the dried fruit, incredible. I put it on top of seared scallops. You could do it on top of any fish, chicken, meat, tofu. You could literally just dump this into like freshly made rice, freshly made couscous. You're making like a pilaf without like having to do any of the work besides cooking the rice. So a great meal prep staple, great sauce. Great all around. So let's move on to the halloumi. I love halloumi so much. I found this one at Costco. Great price at Costco. You got 2 for the price that I saw it at Kroger. You just have to go to like the specialty cheese section of your grocery store and you will find halloumi. I promise. It's really becoming way more popular, but not any easier to open up. It's so annoying to open. Halloumi is a beautiful cheese from Cyprus, if I haven't already said that, coated in dried mint. I'm just gonna do some pretty thick cuts. So like 3/4 of an inch maybe. I'm gonna go ahead and try it. You can eat it raw. Like seriously the best freaking cheese ever. But it's definitely better when it's grilled, seared, baked, any of those. It's definitely best warm. So from 1 halloumi block with a bit of snacking, I have 6 slices. I'm gonna preheat my pan. Oh my gosh, it's so good. About a 6. You don't want it like piping hot that you're gonna burn the cheese, but you definitely want it nice and warm. And we're simply gonna sear the halloumi on both sides, douse it with the beautiful agrodolce, and enjoy. Cheese is so often really well enjoyed by itself as a snack or as a course on its own, full of protein, amazing source of a lot of great nutrients. And so this is just a great snack. They go together so well. Sweetness and the vinegariness with the saltiness and the chewiness and all the crunch and the texture. Snacks, I feel like you want them to be very satisfying because you don't want to eat a lot of it. For me, a snack would have been 2 or 3 slices of halloumi, seared up really quickly in the pan, stir it up and pour it on top, and then you have a snack. But you could also make it a meal. You could pair this with some vegetables on the side. You could do some crackers, some baguette. You could make this a meal, but I like cheese sometimes as a snack. There was a show on Food Network I used to love watching when I was in grade school called The Best Thing I Ever Ate. If I could go on that show now and talk about a dish I made myself, this would be the best thing I've ever ate. Do you hear the squeakiness? You think you loved every ingredient going into this dish? You love orangey, citrusy, olivey, pistachio-y, fruity, honey, chewy, delicious. Oh my gosh. So good. You have to try this. This gorgeous seared halloumi with a beautiful orange pistachio olive agrodolce. Guys, I could go on and on and on and on and on. I don't think I could ever stop describing how incredible this dish is. So many flavors, but you taste all the flavors. They complement each other so well. I'm gonna enjoy a few more bites and we are gonna move on to the 4th and final recipe. So good. For the 4th and final recipe, I have a gorgeous, fail-proof olive oil cake. A double chocolate raspberry olive oil cake. I've been making olive oil cake for 4 or 5 years now, and I've tried a bunch of different recipes, a bunch of different variations, and I've figured out the perfect recipe for olive oil cake. And I changed the recipe a little bit by adding in cocoa powder, chopped up chocolate, some raspberries, a gorgeous, gorgeous, easy 1 bowl. Stir everything together with ricotta. You could use yogurt as well, and if you're dairy-free, you could always use coconut yogurt. That's my favorite yogurt for dairy-free options. When you taste the batter, it's going to taste kind of terrible because the olive oil is really, really, really strong, but I promise once it's baked, that olive oil flavor is so much less, and it just adds a light, fruity flavor to the cake, the moistness, the beautiful health benefits of the olive oil. So it's not overly sweet. It's a perfect balance. So this is like the perfect snacking cake because there's no frosting really that goes with this. I am gonna make something to go with this today because why not? But for the most part, it's a snacking cake because it's not quite a muffin, but it could be, and it's not like over the top decadent dessert, but you could make it dessert with some ice cream, some whipped cream, some jam. So many ways to make this more of a dessert or more of a snack. You can eat cake as a snack. The Mediterranean diet is about balance, moderation, wholesome, whole foods, and quality. So desserts are seen all over the Mediterranean as a snack. This cake is still filled with a wholesome amount of carbs and delicious goodness. To level it up and give it a little fun decorative touch, I have some leftover raspberries here. I'm gonna go ahead and add them to a jar. I'm gonna do about 2 teaspoons of honey because the Greek yogurt I'm using is plain. I always buy a giant container of Greek yogurt, maybe like a tablespoon of honey. I always buy a giant container of plain 2% or 5% Greek yogurt because I use it for so many savory things. If you're wanting more of like the fruit flavored Greek yogurts, this is also a great hack for flavoring your own Greek yogurt at home. You can control the sugar. Sugar is not bad. It's just, again, you gotta watch the moderation of it. So I'm taking that tablespoon of honey, splash of water, and probably like half a cup of raspberries into the microwave. You could make a really big batch of this on the stove. I'm gonna do like 30 seconds to start. Heating up the raspberries so that they break really easily and then they infuse with that honey. Okay, quick pause. The raspberry, as you can see, the raspberry and the water and the honey, like they bursted and all became a liquidy goodness. Start off with about 1/4 of a cup at a time, and it just turns it to a beautiful color. If you didn't know, I made this cake specifically because the holiday's coming up, my favorite holiday. I'm gonna do a little splash of vanilla. Oh, it's so fudgy. Oh my gosh. Oh, looks so good. I just got a hunk of chocolate. The result of the gorgeous raspberry yogurt sauce. Aw, the colors are so pretty. Looks absolutely incredible. I'm so excited to try this gorgeous chocolatey raspberry olive oil cake. So dense and moist on the center. It's nice and chewy because of the little bit of almond flour that goes into this recipe. It makes it a little bit crumbly, but at the same time gives it really good like texture, which of course, love me some texture. Oh my God, this is so good. It's a very not too sweet cake, which is why it's perfect for a snack. Have to try this cake, or any variation you'd love to make of olive oil cake. Seriously, it's such a simple, easy cake to make if you're like going to a party and you need to make a recipe really quick, or a brunch, or you're just bored on the weekend and want something easy but like show-stopping to make. This olive oil cake. There are so many variations to this olive oil cake, whether you wanted to do chocolate. I have, I think, a citrus version. I have an apple version. I have a plum version. There's so many versions of this cake, but this was a really, really fun one. You have to try this double chocolate raspberry olive oil cake. That concludes this recipe video. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment below what recipe you're most inspired to try, what idea you got from this recipe video. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't already, please subscribe. Thank you again so much for watching. And until next time, I hope you create a very, very zestful day. Ciao.